very warm welcome to Gaming News Weekly, your weekly news show every Friday at 5 p.m. with your hosts. Me, I'm Rich, I'm pleased to meet you, and my good friend for many a year, Tabs. Say hello, mate.
Hello, Gaming News Weekly, coming at you.
That
was really cringy.
It's fine, mate. It's what we're all about here. It's what we're all about.
Cringe.
As usual, if you're new here and you like what you see, subscribe and get down there and like. And as always, we'd love to hear from you in the comments about anything we talk about this week. So please get in and send us some comments. Not the most interesting of weeks, I would say, this week in terms of big stories. So we've collected a few bits together, which we'll get into shortly. Everything else is quite interesting. There's a few bits in there.
Yes, stay tuned until the end for everything else. That's the highlight, I think, this week.
Absolutely, but we will start, as we do every single week, with what we've been playing. So, Tabs, why don't you tell me what you were playing last week?
Mostly just Pro Evo, mate, I think. I bought Pro Evolution Soccer 2021 season update, whatever it's called, for the PS5 and for the PC, in the hopes that Rich and I were going to get some multiplayer online Master League action set up. And after a heck of a fashion, Rich, we did manage to get a stable sort of playing experience on the PC or laptops. So yeah, we've started a Master League and we're just getting to grips with that. And as Rich has noticed from our YouTube channel feed, I've been doing a lot of research on getting better at the game because, why don't I hand over to you here, Rich? Tell us about what it is to play.
So we've played lots of Pro Evo before. I've owned a few Pro Evos. I know you have, Tabs, as well. We prefer personally over FIFAs, or certainly the modern day FIFAs. And
the
we were
thinking man's football game. Shots fired to all your FIFA fans out there.
We were like, we're fairly good gamers. We'll put it on like professional to start off with. Obviously, many of you know you can start the Master League with like proper players, or you can start with some generic, very poor players in essence, very middle of the ground, very tough players. And then the idea is that you start with those and you build up and you get more players in, etc. And you build a team around yourselves and how you play and stuff. Well, what preceded was like 5, 6 or 7 matches where we just kept putting the difficulty down because we were just getting hammered.
Still losing on the bounce for the most part as well, despite that.
Yeah, but we've sort of, I'm not sure whether we've got more in tune with it or we've got a few better players in there, so we're playing better, maybe we're gelling better together, but we're slowly creeping the difficulty back up again now, which is good to see. And yeah, it's good fun just to be on a game that's, you don't need to think too much about it. You can just get in there, play a bit of football, have a bit of a laugh, and yeah, it's really good fun. So yeah, I've been enjoying that with you, Tabs.
For anybody, thinking about buying PES 2021, it's got some of the, it's the most sophisticated that the series has probably ever come for obvious reasons. But the problem is all those idiosyncrasies that we hate about previous PES games, they're in their worst form, I would say. So the refereeing is it's borderline unfair, almost because it's having to pad the AI out and make them more difficult as you go up the curve. And that lends into all sorts of other things as well, doesn't it, Rich, in terms of conversion rate of the AI is insane.
Yeah.
When we have to strive for goals, chance upon chance upon chance, which is getting better as our team cohesion's getting better. It's just, I think it's basically because the AI maybe needs an overhaul generally, and maybe we'll see that this year, Rich, 2022 version, as we know they're really going back to the metal to create a new engine, I think. But yeah, I think at this point the AI has just reached its limit, and therefore they're having to almost crank up these notches in other areas to compensate to match the player. But unfortunately, it actually creates somewhat of an uneven experience from the player, and it can lead to a lot of frustration. Rich is shouting at the screen on many an occasion.
Yeah, I mean, just to put some some context into some of that, there was one match we had earlier on in the week where I basically ran accidentally into another player, and because of the way we clashed with each other, my flailing arms of the player I was controlling, which you have no control over their arms, hit the other player in the head, and my player got a straight red card for that. Which seemed like that was ridiculous, that you could get a straight red card for something you have no control over. And then the free kicks, you give away a free kick, and in the modern era, free kicks are very difficult to score. In real life, but we don't see free kicks going in every game. In the Premier League, just doesn't happen. But almost every free kick we give away, that's like between 18 and 25 yards out, every single one is top bag goal. So there's some interesting things that need to be addressed, I think, moving forward. But nevertheless, it is fun to play.
It is indeed. But let's move on and stop our whinging about.
Absolutely. So we're going to start this week with a Returnal review roundup. Now, I've seen some of these reviews. Tabs has put this together for us. Thank you very much. But I've seen generally a lot of positive feedback about this game. People are saying it's the best game on the PS5 at the moment. But nevertheless, let's jump into the reviews.
It's Friday, by the way, BArcadians. So as you're viewing this, it should be out.
Absolutely. So if you're interested in it, get on there and get it bought. So we're going to go with Game Informer gave it a 95, and they had this to say: Returnal is a relentless nightmare that's a dream to play. The journey is full of horror and terrible discoveries, but also unbridled curiosity and wonder. If you have the taste for it, this is an adventure that begs to be experienced. Wow.
Shall I pick up there, mate? GameSpot gave it a 90. So they had this to say: Returnal is constantly unsettling and consistently challenging. Its mysterious story and demanding action feel intense, urgent and fresh. The fast-moving combat manages to appear incredibly daunting, bordering on overwhelming, without ever actually becoming insurmountable. Every moment is a rush, either because you just barely evaded a giant purple laser, or because you have no idea why there's an Apollo-era astronaut following your every move. Do you need to be a little brave to play Returnal? Yeah. Do you need to be a glutton for punishment? It helps.
Nice. Metro give it a 90 as well, and they had this to say: what should have been a hodgepodge of other people's ideas, made worse by frustratingly high difficulty, is in reality one of the most cleverly designed video games of recent years, with superb action and endless replayability. Wow.
So yeah, a lot of good stuff out there, as you say, Rich. I know IGN. I think they came in at an 8, which is obviously a little lower, and I have seen a couple of around the 8 mark. I think suggesting that it doesn't have a save function during runs, so you can only really put the PS5 into rest mode to kind of park it if you've got other things to do. And I'm not sure if the end game sort of runs out of steam a little bit, but.
So I guess
nice to say.
In that respect, it's quite like Hades. Because again, Hades, you can't save it in between runs, can you?
Well, you kind of can actually, mate. It will save per room, I think.
Oh, okay, it does. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, if you exit the game. But yeah, so there's so much positivity in the air about it, though. And, I think it's come from the shadows, hasn't it, a bit, Rich, if you like. I think people were excited, but there was always a bit of tentativeness about, is it really going to be the AAA success we really hope it will be? And it doesn't sound like it's too far off. I think some people saying, it's Housemarque's best game yet. So I praise, and certainly I think in terms of the next genness of it, it's quite a showcase in terms of 4K, 60 frames per second. I think there's some ray tracing aspects in there as well. So I'm thinking I might buy it, Rich. I don't know if I've got time in the schedule right now, but sometime soon, perhaps.
I was just going to say, is it a purchase? I'll be honest, I don't know what it is. I just don't fancy this. I'm not sure whether it's because it is a lot like Hades. Let's face it is a lot like Hades. And although I enjoyed Hades, I don't know. It didn't gel with me quite how I wanted it to, and.
You haven't got the staying power for it, mate. It's fine, isn't it?
It's not to do with not having the staying power whatsoever. I mean, we know I've got the staying power. Sigrun is a testament to my staying power. But I don't know what it is. I don't fancy this. I don't know what it is. Maybe if I see someone play it, maybe I need to look at it more. I don't know.
A demo would be nice, wouldn't it? It'd be nice to have a demo, because I've got similar sort of reservations. It's one that I don't know if I want to pay full price for, but. We'll have to see. I'll be watching some videos on YouTube. Maybe that will help to inform.
Cool. Well,
but shall we? Yes, let's push on to story number 2. So, Last of Us Part 3 Rumblings.
Interesting.
So, this comes courtesy of GameSpot, and they said, Naughty Dog's Neil Druckmann has shared some thoughts on a potential third The Last of Us game. After the big success of The Last of Us Part 2, Druckmann said he wrote an outline for a story for a new game with co-writer Hallie Gross. However, the game isn't in production yet. He shared this on the Script Apart podcast, going on to mention that Naughty Dog as a studio is not currently working on this, but I hope one day can see the light of day. That must be a misquote. This new story would explore a little bit what happens after The Last of Us Part 2. We'll see. He said, according to IGN, which picks up the quotes. Druckmann acknowledged that there has been quite a bit of chatter at Naughty Dog about making The Last of Us Part 3, but it's too soon to say if the studio will make it. After The Last of Us, he was brought on to take over development of Uncharted 4 before doing The Last of Us Part 2. So yeah, I think this was a positive kind of glimpse of what could be a third outing. It sounds like they've got ideas. I think I read a little bit further on in that story, and he's basically suggesting that now that there's a part 1 and a part 2, you know, the thematics, if you like, are quite set in place. So they've got to, you know, they're quite fixed in terms of where they can go next. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think there's still a lot to say and do with the characters. Certainly for me, I'd like to see, you know, the tie up the storyline for Ellie and other characters. We shan't lay any spoilers in this, but what do you make of it all, Rich?
Yeah, I mean, just on that point, they don't have to make. I mean, it's a world, isn't it? We know I know it's not an open world game, but there's, you know, the world of The Last of Us. They could do something with a completely new character that sort of intertwines with maybe what was happening in the first 2 games. So there's every possibility they could break away from the characters that we know. You know, we spoke about that happening on other games like, you know, Death Stranding, for instance. But yeah, I mean, I'd be excited to see some more Last of Us. I think it's been some extremely exciting, challenging material, and I feel like the challenge of this game and the way it's been made and created and directed, and the way Naughty Dog have done it has been brilliant, and I think a fantastic thing for the industry. So I think definitely want to see more from them. I think the thing that this begs a question is, if Naughty Dog aren't working on that, what are they working on? Because that's what we all want to know, isn't it, at the end of the day?
Well, if rumours are to be believed, is it a remake of The Last of Us? That was the suggestion recently, wasn't it? It was returned to their development after being kind of outsourced to somebody else. So
wasn't that something to do with Uncharted though? Weren't they remaking Uncharted or the first?
Well, there was a suggestion they were going to remake Uncharted, but I'm not sure if that got canned.
Yeah.
Whether there's still a version of that somewhere that could be picked up on, it's hard to say. But yeah, I mean, they're a great studio. They're always going to make great stuff. Personally, I'd love a Jack and Daxter next, but I'd be happy to see, you know, any of what we've been talking about or what's been rumoured. I'm sure it'd be great.
I have to say, absolutely agree with you on Jack and Daxter. I remember playing the first game. What was that? Was that on PS?
Precursor Legacy, PS2, was it? Yeah,
it was one of them. And I remember just thinking, this is brilliant. What a fun game. And I actually saw a video on YouTube the other day of it, and I was like, this is brilliant. Why aren't they making more of this? So yeah, but interestingly, that leads us on to the next story, which of a similar type of game. We're going to be talking State of Play. So this week there is going to be a State of Play. It's actually happening tonight, which was actually yesterday if you're watching this. So I'm sure you'll have watched that by BArcadians and you know all about it, but here's what we can expect from it, or what was expected from it. Right, so it's going to happen Thursday the 29th of April, as I've just said. So today, yesterday, if you're watching this on the Friday, and we'll start at 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern time, and 10 p.m. British Standard Time. And if you're tuning in from Australia, that translates to Friday the 30th at 7 a.m. It's expected to contain more than 15 minutes of fresh gameplay from Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart and updates on 2 upcoming indie games. Interesting. because as we know, they've sort of made their peace with indie games if recent rumours are to believe. But carry on.
Yeah, is that a kind of a way to turn the crowd again, turn the bad press into positive press? Who knows? Carry
Possibly.
on then, mate.
This state of play was announced alongside a short gameplay trailer for Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart that introduced us to the game's mysterious new female Lombax protagonist named Rivet.
Rivet.
Yeah. Which will surely see more of her and other characters in the gameplay deep dive that will last for more than 15 minutes. As for what the two upcoming indie games could be, they could be one of the games featured in the most recent State of Play from February 2021, including Kena, Bridge of Spirits, the Kung Fu-inspired Sifu, Heart Machines, Solar Ash, or Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. It has also been a while since we've heard updates from Braid Anniversary Edition, Jet, The Far Shore, Stray, or Goodbye Volcano High. Obviously, these games could always be surprises and something no one has heard of yet. So interesting, I'm excited for this. I wish it wasn't at 10 o'clock. I wish it was at like 6 o'clock. But I'm probably going to stay up and watch this. Yeah, what about you, Tabs? Are you excited for this?
Yeah, reasonably. I think, you know, those kind of ponderings there from IGN. I'd like if these indie games were Kena, Bridge of Spirits, and I'd like to see that Kung Fu game Sifu again, which I know you were a little bit like, what's all this about? Yes. But it looked like it had a really cool kind of fighting system. Ratchet and Clank, I mean, I've missed it. You know, I've always picked up other platformers like Jak and Daxter, Mario, of course. It always passed me by because it was a bit more, I don't know, it felt a bit more like a third-person shooter at times, and I just prefer a bit of pure platforming in my platforming games. But, you know, that being said, this looks fantastic, doesn't it? I think with this fast SSD in the PS5 seemingly being utilised to the full in all the gameplay clips so far, and a recent gameplay trailer I saw for it, it looks like one of the best games we've seen yet on next gen. So I think with that being said, yeah, I will be tuning in. Excited to see. I hope we're going to see some exciting bits, not just another flashy show reel, but maybe a bit of a deep dive with some gameplay elements that are especially enticing. And so yeah, it is interesting, like you say though, that two indie games are being featured as part of this state of play. Whether they were chucked in at the last minute, we'll have to see. But yeah. All positive stuff, you know. I think there's been a bit of a murmuring of a PS5 game drought since its launch, and of course we've got Returnal and now Ratchet and Clank, which is going to get the spotlight treatment. So, all positive things if you're a PS5 owner, if you manage to get one.
Absolutely, and I'll just second Tabs' Ratchet and Clank's one that's really missed me by. It looks really entertaining and it looks like it's really pushing the boundaries of what we've seen before on previous generations, which is what we come to expect from all the hype around this generation. But yeah, I don't know. I need to see something really special to make me go, yeah, I'm definitely buying that. So yeah, and the indie games, I hope we see something really cool, new, a bit more involved in some of the games we've already seen. So yeah, I'm hoping I don't come away from it disappointed, because that would be annoying, but we'll have to see. It's interesting nevertheless.
I don't think we will, mate, because they've set expectations, which is good, isn't it? They don't always do that with these directs or state of plays, and on this occasion they have. So, you know, we know what we're getting, really. So that's good. But everything else, mate, the main event of this week's Gaming News Weekly.
So I'll kick us off. So first on and everything else, we've got a game based on The Mandalorian is rumoured to be in development. I think this is a no-brainer, must be in the works, just for how popular The Mandalorian has been.
Please don't be a crappy, you know, tie-in sort of game, though. Please say somebody decent is working on it. Because I think it could be a great game.
Agreed.
I think the way the episodes are designed, they're almost, you know, a bit gamey. And, of course, you've got all of the Mandalorian's gadgets and things like that. And the ship. Oh, it could be awesome. Anyway, next up, Final Fantasy-style action game Lost Soul Aside is coming to PS5. I saw that this week in a trailer, and it does look really cool. Very Devil May Cry is what
cool.
is what comes to mind. Really nice graphics and yeah, exciting times.
And I know this one was one that piqued Tabs' interest, but Breath of the Wild 2 co-developer goes on a huge hiring spree. So that's very interesting. What does that mean? Does that mean they're they're into the crunch now and they need people to help finish the game? Are they doing a completely new game and it's nothing actually to do with Breath of the Wild, it's just coincidence? So yeah, interesting. I'm not sure what that means. We'll have to stay tuned.
Indeed. Yeah, I was just surprised at co-developer. I thought it was Nintendo, maybe they're outsourcing some talent to support the big project, the size of the project. I'm fairly certain when they announced it, they said they were working with somebody to develop it. I can't remember what they said, and I don't know that to be a fact, but I'm sure I remember them saying something like that. Nintendo were working with another studio to help them. Right. But either way, yeah, exciting. We want that out as soon as possible. Monster Hunter Rise gets 3 Elder Dragons, layered armor, Apex hunts, and a roadmap of things to come. I think some people have laid, a claim that Rise was great, but the end game felt a bit unfinished. So this is, I suppose, an answer to that. Brilliant. And we know all about hunting Elder Dragons, don't we, Tabs? We do indeed. Very difficult task, isn't it, in Monster Hunter? Absolutely. And Valheim Speedrunner defeats all bosses in under 90 minutes. I mean, insane. Whoever did that is insane. No easy feat. I wonder if they've done that solo, Rich, as well. Is that the suggestion? To be honest, I didn't read. I just read the headline. Poor journalism, I know, but I just read the headline. But it does say speed runner, so it does suggest solo. Yeah, true. That's amazing. Yeah. Some of them are absolute. In our experience of playing Valheim, it takes 90 minutes just to farm some stuff that you need to play a bit more of the game. Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't respect your time, that game. No. And then last up, we've got, this is close to our hearts as well, isn't it, Rich? So Co-op Adventure, It Takes Two celebrates 1 million copies sold. I think Joseph Fares on Twitter or something used that as evidence that there's still, an audience for multiplayer cooperative games. 100%. I mean, anyone that thinks that's not the case is, we're in a world now where we're in some ways disconnected from each other. We really, really enjoyed the connection of that game, and it really was a game where you had to work together to achieve things, and I loved it. It's brilliant. I'd love to do. Brian Montano as well, mate. I don't know if you saw, but on Twitter he put a post out recently. He's been playing it. He was just, he couldn't stop speaking its praise. Really, it's just one of the best games I think he said he played this year to date, and I'll echo that as well. Yeah, some of the 100%. Ideas in there, it's just joy is all it is. And I think because of the way they've done it as well, and we'll wrap this up very shortly, honestly, BArcadians. Some of the ways they've done it, it just brings so much nostalgia to other games that you've played, and that's a brilliant thing that they've done, with that. And yeah, I've got a lot of fond memories about playing that. So yeah, anyone who hasn't played that, I would honestly get out there. It's not particularly expensive, but it is such a lot of fun to play. Have great fun with it, support the cause, and I'd love to see Fares and his devs do something similar next. Absolutely. But Rich, bring us to a close. I certainly will. So that is this week in the news. We hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please do drop us a subscription if you're new here. And obviously a like really helps feed into those algorithms that we're trying to battle on YouTube. And that pretty much is it for this week. We hope you can join us again next week. Another one for the archive. Stamped and completed.